What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down why on this today. It's going to be a very interesting day, as a big move is coming to the market very, very soon, and some other very important things to watch for when it comes to support and resistance, and also what's happening with the markets. Before I do anything like this, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends in just 2 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market so far. Looking at SPY, this thing has been trading sideways for the pre-market, going back and forth between the 20 and the 200 EMAs. Now, as this thing is trading sideways, it's going to likely continue on this trend and not be like too crazy, nothing too big is what I'm expecting to happen, at least for the first couple of hours. And the reason for that is because the market is just getting ready for Apple's big event, and I think that's going to be the catalyst to cause a lot more volatility. Now, for a couple of things to know about how the market is moving, we saw a small rebound in the tech stocks out there as the Nasdaq was up about 1.1%, still trying to hold up. There's also some new news about how we actually saw JP Morgan Chase's CEO, Jamie, came out and he said some things that made him very cautious about the current state of the economy. He warned everyone that right here, if we keep on saying that there are good times coming, we're basically making a huge mistake, because he believes that right now, just because the consumer is strong, it does not mean it's going to act this way for years. He was mentioning that there could be some very, very big concerns for the future when it comes to the quantitative tightening that the Fed has been doing. And he mentioned that there could be some, economic hurricanes and some very, very negative effects on their way as well. And he's warning us that, once again, a recession could be on the table. So that's what he was basically saying. That's very important. We have to consider this. And yes, I think that's very, very likely for 2024. But I will talk more about that in a later video. We had Oracle's earnings as well. It actually dropped about 9%. We actually saw its revenue fall short for one of the first times in a very, very long time. And besides that, I'm just looking around. I'm not really seeing anything else that's too big. But anyways, that's basically it for the news as of right now for the markets. Those are some of the most significant things. To add on to this, when it comes to economic data, we have the WASDE report around noon Eastern time, but nothing else is too big for the markets until as time goes on, except for Apple's big event. So, just as a reminder, Apple has the big event at about 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, which is going to be around 1 p.m. Eastern time. This is going to be very important because whatever Apple says, whatever they announce, whether it's the new iPhone 15 or not, or the new Apple Watches, it's going to have a big ripple effect on the whole markets. I don't know if Apple's going to just launch up and start pumping very, very hard. If that happens, the whole market's going to follow it. Okay? But if the opposite happens, because typically, like I said in my previous video, after these events, we tend to see Apple sell off historically, right? Just because it happened in the past, it doesn't mean it has to happen again. It's just one thing worth noting. There's a real possibility of that too. So we're just going to wait and see how it goes. Just want to be as patient as possible. Now let's break down how the charts are looking very, very quickly. So as a reminder to everyone, I want everyone to just be prepared for what's about to come. As far as Apple goes, it is basically just trading sideways, not really doing a whole lot. There's a chance it's going to get very close to this 180 zone and just trade sideways from here. We'll see if this could break or not. If Apple does break it, then you're going to be watching the 200 EMA around this 181 zone as our next resistance. So far, it's just trying to hold up. It looks a little bit more bullish with the structure. So it looks like Apple's going to try to push a little bit, but does it have to be that crazy of a push? That I'm not too sure about. 181 should be tested for the time being, could go a little higher, but then the real move comes later on. So just be prepared for that. It looks a little bit more bullish right now, so it might push a little bit, and then we'll see what happens after that, after the event starts. Once again, around 1 p.m. Eastern time or 10 o'clock a.m. for Pacific time. Now, with SPY developing, we have a potential double bottom that formed right here. This might be a bullish divergence. Let me just double check. And actually, it's not really, there is technically a bullish divergence here, a small one. But with the 30-minute MACD starting to curl a little bit, we're going to be watching to see if we could hold this area. So if we get a break above our 20 EMA, because we're kind of range bound between the 20 and the 200, if SPY could break this, which I think it most likely will make an attempt to do so, we could see this gap get filled, push to like 448, maybe a little bit higher, and then just start trading sideways after that. So I could see a little bit of upside, a little bit more upside before some sideways price action. Once we get above the 20, we're going to be watching the mid 448. And then, if we were to break below 446.5, below our 200 EMA, then we could start sinking towards 445 to fill the gap. As of right now, it doesn't look like that's likely going to happen just yet unless we break up below the 200. It looks more like this is forming kind of like a double bottom trying to push up with Aapl, at least temporarily. So that's what the move I'm going to be looking at as soon as we open. We'll see if we can try to get above the 20, but always watch the 200 just in case some bad news comes out, all right? But it is looking more like this thing's going to try to push up just a little bit, then trade sideways. But always watch your levels just for extra confirmation. For Tesla, we were expecting this thing to gap down. As of right now, it's down about 0.6% in the 271s. You're going to be watching to see if this thing could hold 270. If it breaks below that, you're going to be watching 268 and then 266 below that. All right, so those are some important levels to watch for on Tesla. We formed this bearish divergence right here, so we were expecting it to cool off a bit, and that's what's happening. And we're going to be watching to see how it trades. I think there's a good chance that Tesla's going to get an attempt to pop a little bit by open, then slow down, just trade very, very sideways around 270. I could see 268 being tested, but I'm expecting some sideways price action and Tesla to remain a little bit red temporarily. And I think the real move is going to be coming because of Aapl. I think Apple's going to cause Tesla to either continue pushing higher, or it could cause it to slow down a little bit. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. But that's what I'm seeing so far for Tesla. When it comes to other tickers out there, such as Nvda, unfortunately, Nvda is looking weak. One of the things we were talking about was Nvda trying to hold support, and it's just not looking that great in my opinion. It's actually hovering below the 50 and the 20 EMA on the 30 minutes time frame. Now, as far as Nvda goes, when you zoom out, the market structure looks bearish. It's been continuing to downtrend for the last couple of days. And now we're going to be watching support right now at 448. It's very close to that. If it breaks below that, watch 443 to 442, 440, followed by the 435 area. For resistance, watch 452. If we could get above this, there is potential for us to push towards 455 and then potentially even 460. What seems more likely, though, is Nvidia is looking weak. We're going to get a small pop, maybe a retest of like 455 or so. Then it may just trade sideways. But it's looking kind of weak. So, it could ultimately start to sell off if we break below 448. So you want to watch that very carefully. All right, so look for a little pop on Nvidia first, sideways price action. We could get a big reaction after Apple's big event. We probably will. But regardless of that, if we just discard Apple's event, I just want to say Nvidia is looking weak so far, continuing to downtrend, not looking the best. And there's a good chance we might see some downside again if it continues to hold below 448, which is critical support. Okay, so watch 448 very carefully. If that breaks, then that's it for Nvidia. It's going to start sinking towards the lower 440s, unfortunately. For the QQQ, this right over here, we have this bearish divergence that has developed on it, and it's starting to cool off a little bit in a very healthy manner. It's trying to hover above our 50 EMA at 375.4. Going to likely trade sideways around here, and we're going to be looking for an attempt to bounce to 377, then a rejection off that. I think it's just going to range trade between 375 and 377 for much of today. Then we're going to see a big reaction depending on Aapl. Aapl could help this thing launch even higher. I mean, if we do get some kind of like break to the upside towards like 378, Aapl could try to launch it just a little bit higher, but before we just see some sideways price action. And then after that, it all depends on what happens with Apple's event. So that's going to be very, very telling as well. So hopefully you guys are prepared for that. Hopefully you look at that very carefully. One thing that's also very important is that even though the VIX, I don't think it's trading just yet, but we have this gap all the way down here. There's a chance the market may try to push up higher because of the VIX potentially coming down. Could Apple be the thing that pushes the market up, or is it going to be CPI? We'll have to wait and see for tomorrow. But for now, we're just going to be waiting for Aapl first before CPI, and that's going to be very telling. So with that said, guys, I went over the majority of these tickers. Looking at Meta, Meta is not looking bad. It's still trying to hold up. We're going to be looking for a 305 potential retest before it attempts to bounce, and some more sideways price action until Apple's big event. So it's all on Aapl. Just watch the market for the time being. Lots of sideways price action. We may try to push up initially thanks to Aapl, then trade sideways, then watch for Apple's event. That's going to cause major volatility for the indices, in my opinion, and also for Aapl. And that's going to dictate how the market ends up moving. All right, so that's my opinion. That's my take on the markets. Please remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.